Today I'm joined by Benjamin Horvath. Benjamin is the Managing Director of BLOCKROCKET, an investor and accelerator for blockchain startups. Benjamin, can you please give some more insights what BLOCKROCKET is and what you do?
Hi, sure. Nice to meet you, Stefan. Yes, so I'm the Managing Director of BLOCKROCKET. We are an early stage accelerator program for blockchain startups that operate in the German ecosystem. So our niches, think blockchain startups, early stage, and within the German ecosystem. Startups don't necessarily need to be based in Germany, but their main target, like one of their main markets, should be the German, if they would like to approach us or would like to work with us.
All right, I know that you started off first as an accelerator and matchmaker. You wanted to bridge the gap between startups and also corporate VCs or venture capitalists and angel investors. Now recently, you announced that you also act as an early stage investor yourself. Can you give some more detail? What are the investments you plan to do, or what are you looking in at startups, and also what's your ticket size?
Sure. So our program was launched approximately a bit more than a year ago in early 2019. And for the first year, our main goal was to build up traction in the market. So for the first year, we focused more on networking and matchmaking services with startups. So we had two stages startups could apply to. And there was a stage one, a program that would last 6 months. There was no investment from our side, so it was not as capital intense for us, but it was also for free from a startup side. And we would usually help them with giving them access to at least 1 or 2 main events. So on average, we had at least 1 to 2 events per month. Before Corona, we were present at basically every major blockchain or DLT conference in Germany, across Frankfurt, Munich, and Berlin. And since Corona, we upgraded to online conferences, same thing, at least 1 to 2 per month. So the idea was being that as an early stage startup, you could approach us and we would help you through events or through dedicated introductions to our partners to pick up traction like quite quickly. Stage 2 of our program would be basically a full scope for 2 years. So we would proactively, as an accelerator within the German ecosystem, support you as much as we could or as we can with introducing you to investors, to corporates, banks, potential clients, other startups. Also granting you at least 5 to 10 events per year, like access to investor events where you have like pitch for fundraising, but also conferences where it's maybe about gathering potential clients. And this year we upgraded to a stage 3 of our program, which comes with investment tickets from our side that reach up to 100,000 euro per startup. And for this, so the shift came mostly because we realized we picked up traction for the first year in 2019 much quicker than we originally expected. And we built up a pretty nice deal flow over the first year. And now we have so there's approximately 500 to 600 blockchain startups in Germany, more or less. And we have more than 150 applications from blockchain startups in Germany so far. So compared to the relative market size, we have quite a nice overview to this point of view. And that's why we decided in 2020 to invest our own funds in some promising startups that are part of our deal flow. Okay, and for this year, we plan with one more note. For this year, we plan with first 10 investments. So up to 1 million capital we plan to invest this year.
Yeah, this is really exciting. But let's switch the topic a little. I want to talk about the German blockchain market later on a little more. But for now, you are also a member of the International Token Standardization Association, actually for quite a while, and you personally are involved in ITSA quite a lot. So why did BLOCKROCKET join ITSA, and why is standardization important to you?
I think we're still in the early days of the blockchain ecosystem when it comes to networking in Germany. So I think the network at this part it's too big to come in as an outsider and to really build necessary connections quickly, but it's not big enough yet to not being able to get to know everyone if you stick around for 2, 3, or 4 years and try to be active in the community. And I think so there's 2 components. ITSA itself, with its goal of global standardizations, when it comes to token, I think is a pretty interesting concept that kind of affects everyone more or less in the entire blockchain ecosystem. So as a blockchain enthusiast myself, I do think this is an interesting project. Second component to it is that, of course, for us, it's also important to establish, to expand and establish our network as good as we can ourselves. And our main goal is always to attract early stage blockchain startups in Germany, but also early stage startups that might come from abroad, like Switzerland, Austria, like somewhere around Central Europe, but are actively looking for the connection to the German ecosystem. So wherever we can increase our exposure and increase awareness of our program, of course, that also benefits us in the long run.
This is really interesting. So for you, one could say ITSA combines two important factors. First, outreach for you, exposure to fresh startups, startups that reach the stage that they are eager to join associations like the ITSA. And furthermore, I guess a lot of these startups need standardization of the token markets as well. And this is something I want to talk about because now we have the more or less unique opportunity to talk about the German blockchain market. As you are an expert and you have probably screened most of these 600 startups, had a lot of applications, what can you say about blockchain in Germany? What are the most prevalent use cases?
So we observed that more than 50% of the startups that we have encountered so far in our deal flow are still fintech based. So there's a lot of niche applications that comes from specific B2B finance environments. I think the interesting question also for me personally is what kind of industries will we see with first sustainable use cases when it comes to blockchain that are not part of fintech? And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we might, so we already have the first startups in our deal flow right now, or startups that are part of our program we work with. They're not fintech related, but they're rather the exception for the respective industries they come from. So for example, we have like one interesting startup, IP Ocean, they focus on open IP innovation sharing platform. We have a startup we work with that focuses on trading of secondary or second-hand licenses when it comes to computer software. So they are like the first use cases with blockchain context. They're not finance related. And I think it would be really interesting to see the next few years how many of them will sustain and how many more we will see coming from other industries.
Fascinating, especially seeing that blockchain in Germany still is heavily focused on fintech and probably also payments. I would imagine this is true for the rest of the world as well. Now, a last question personally, what do you think, what are the most exciting blockchain trends for you? What are you looking forward in 2020 and maybe the next 12 months?
Well, in general, I look forward to every startup that's not fintech related in a blockchain case, because I think that's actually quite I think finance is, of course, predestined to offer a lot of good use cases when it comes to digital assets. And I think the part where it becomes really interesting is to see sustaining use cases outside of that context that will sustain. Personally, I like to think, like big picture wise, I think everything that's related to government or to digital identity in the long run could be very interesting, or even having entire voting systems based on a blockchain. But I think those are more mid to long-term projects. So in the short term, it's seeing startups that come from new industries that we haven't seen blockchain cases so far yet that excite me the most.
All right, Benjamin, then thank you very much for joining me for this interview. And I look forward to see where BLOCKROCKET is going.
Perfect. Thanks for your time, Stefan.